Do you ever reflect back the times when you were, behind bars?
Being in jail, I feel like that helped me. Like, it slowed me down. It showed me like how important my freedom is, shit like that.
What up guys, your boy Quake, and I know I'm usually behind the camera saying this, not in front of it, but this is a new series, so I want to try out something completely different and new and see if it works. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. For the most part, people already know what I look like. If you've been following me on Instagram, Twitter, or if you've been watching the new podcast, check it out on the channel, the Diverse Mentality Podcast. It's going to blow up. I'm going to have crazy guests on there too pretty soon. So go ahead and check it out. I'm already in front of the camera exactly like this, just at a different angle. But the reason why I decided to be in front of the camera is because this is a new series, so I wanted to try out something new. And let me explain this series for all of you watching. This series is called Who Is, and I'm going to focus on new upcoming artists on this series. I've been wanting to do that for a while now, but now that I have the podcast and now that I created a whole new series, I want to combine the two so that if the artist sees this, they can come on the podcast and get invited on the show. And I'm looking to have a newer generation come onto the channel because a lot of the hip hop I focus on is for the older generations, which is fine. I love doing those type of videos, but I would like to switch it up and do the next generation, the future of hip hop. So that's what the series is mainly going to be focused on, new artists that have a little bit of buzz but aren't blown up. And what I consider blown up is an artist who has a top 40 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. That's my criteria for if you're gonna be on this series or not. If you already have a top 40 hit, if you're doing hundreds of millions and millions of streams, all that type of stuff, you're not really gonna be on this series. This is for newer, upcoming artists. And this isn't just for any new artist, not just your friend who's across the street making music and shit like that. Has to be someone who's somewhat established, has a couple thousand listeners or even a million or so listeners, not like individual listeners, but like views, stuff like that, small things like that already have a fan base going. It's not gonna be for someone completely brand new that's just starting out and has no fans. So yeah, enough of me explaining what this series is about. Let's get into the first artist I felt was perfect for this series, and this is someone I just started listening to probably about a month ago. The first artist I'm going to be talking about goes by the name of Hotboii. He was born in Orlando, Florida in the year 2000. He was raised in a household with 17 brothers and sisters. Yes, you heard that right, 17 brother and sisters. And while he was being raised with that huge family, he ended up getting a lot of influences from his brothers and sisters. And with one of his brothers, he would actually rap and sing with. His brother would sing and he would rap, and that's when he first started exploring making music. He would only do it though with his brother and nobody else around, because I'm pretty sure he was embarrassed like everybody else was when they were younger. And he says his influences outside of his family were simply his friends. He would go to school and they would freestyle, kick rap, and that's what I would do personally when I was in school, just for fun. You'd be at the table knocking, stuff like that. And that's where he got most of his influences from. He started rapping at the age of 7, but didn't write his first rap or record his first song till he was around 13 years old. At around 13, he would find beats, steal them, and basically rap over them, do remixes of other artists' songs, and eventually start actually writing on notepads. And by 2015, at the age of 15, he finally started uploading some of his music on SoundCloud. And one of the first tracks he ever uploaded online was called Switcheroo. Now, if you go check it out on YouTube, yes, the mix and mastering is horrible, the sound quality's ass because the mix and mastering is horrible, and the artwork looks like a 3-year-old kid made it. But there's a huge but in this. You can tell he has potential. He just needs the right sounds, the right engineers, and he'll get there. And eventually that's exactly what happened. And usually with new artists, when they release new music, you can tell if they have potential or not, based on their flows, cadences, stuff like that, and seeing their sound if it's unique. So despite not having an engineer or anything like that, you can still hear the potential in the music. After dropping that song, people locally started asking more and more about when he's going to release music. He started gaining a buzz in Orlando, Florida, But right when he got that buzz, he ended up going into juvenile detention. And how he ended up in juvenile detention was he started doing small petty crimes like stealing iPhones, and then eventually it escalated to him breaking into homes, stuff like that. As time went on, the police finally arrested him and charged him with criminal mischief. However, Hotboii says that was the best thing that happened to him because it slowed him down in life and made him appreciate his freedom a lot more. While in juvenile though, he didn't have TVs, no radios, no nothing. So to keep his mind sane, he would end up writing. And that's where he honed his writing skills from. Fast forward, and he ended up spending 2 years in juvenile and got out when he was 18 years old. What inspired him to get back into the music was when he was locked up in jail, people asked him, "Are you Hotboii?" Which then sparked the thing in his mind to say that, damn, this music shit is actually working and people are noticing who I am. Once he finally got out, he started recording all those songs that he wrote down in juvenile detention. And that would end up turning out to be his first mixtape, Cut the Fan On. But before that project came out, he realized that he had to switch up the style and how he was recording music. He would at first write, but now he freestyles everything after he hears the beat. The first track that really started to blow up for him online was a track called YGs. And by this point, you can tell he actually has an engineer mix and mastering his music, and it sounds more professional.
Told her I got dope dick and now she wanna dose. She know I'm an animal, she wanna fuck the goat, yeah.
And by this point, he started shooting a lot of music videos and catching steam as time went on. And when I first heard Hotboii, I could tell he was from the South immediately just based off of his hair and his sound. Even though he doesn't sound like any other Florida artist, he has a little bit of Kodak Black influence in him. And he even says in interviews that he did grow up listening Kodak Black, so it kind of makes sense. But there's so many Florida artists that have blown up that I love personally, such as Plies, Rod Wave. Then you got your T-Pains, your Flow Riders, you know, the older generation of artists. But a lot of talent has come out of Florida. But this guy sounds completely different. He has his own story, his own sound, and he clearly thrives off of being unique. He said it in various interviews. He wants to be something completely different. He doesn't want to be attached to a certain artist. And I love those type of artists because they end up pushing the needle forward. The artists that follow other artists, they usually fall off and disappear. And he, at age 20, already knows that he needs to do things that are unique and different, which I appreciate a lot. And you can tell in his music, he really is that way. Of course, as more tracks came out, the more his buzz grew, and he ended up signing with the record label called Hitmaker Music Group and 100K Management. The crazy thing is though, he blew up right when the pandemic hit, so he couldn't go tour and do shows like a normal artist would. But I see it as a blessing in disguise because to blow up during a pandemic can show you that down the line, things can happen that can slow down your money, so be smart with it. Plus, you can be creative and come up with new ways to perform or to interact with fans. But with all this success, sometimes comes tragedy. And on April 14th, 2020, one of his best friends, Wolf, ended up dying. However, like every great artist does, they take their pain and turn it into champagne, and that's exactly what he did. He got into the studio, freestyled his heart away, and created the greatest song he has in his career right now called Don't Need Time. This track ended up blowing up, and that's how I found out about him. He initially recorded the track and didn't even care for it. What ended up happening was he had it in his Dropbox. He was going to shoot a music video for a different song called Anonymous at Wolf's funeral. But he heard that track and knew that that was the perfect track to shoot at the funeral. So he shot the music video for Don't Need Time at Wolf's funeral, and it blew up. The song to date has over 29 million views on YouTube. And the song captures his pain so well with the beat, the flow, the hook, everything was perfectly done.
Don't need time waiting on nobody. 3-5, I'm rolling and get my lungs right.
And that's what I normally say. When an artist goes through pain, they sometimes create the best music ever. I mean, one of my favorite tracks from 50 is obviously Mini Men, and he's had pain in his life. He channeled that in that track, and I love artists that do that take their experiences from life and channel into music, and it's rare that a lot of artists can pull that off. It's something that I really appreciate, especially artists that can get in touch with their feelings and not be afraid to speak their mind on how they feel about things that have happened in their life. Because hearing about, gun talk, sex, all this other things doesn't really matter because it gets repeated, regurgitated, and it gets boring over time. So to hear an artist with an actual story and to tell that story through his music, I always appreciate. He dropped that track, Don't Need Time, at the end of April 2020. And about a couple weeks later, in May of 2020, he dropped his debut mixtape, Cut the Fan On. And if you haven't heard this mixtape, go ahead and check it out. It is filled with bangers. And some of my favorite tracks from this mixtape is Noun, Anonymous, Me, Myself, and I, Rock Out, obviously Don't Need Time, and another one that goes underrated, a great storytelling track, is called Graham House Blues. Go ahead and check that out on this mixtape as well. After releasing this mixtape, he gained more buzz, and Lil Baby took notice of him. And Lil Baby decided to jump on the Don't Need Time track and created the official remix for it. And man, Lil Baby's verse on this track is probably Lil Baby's best verse ever. He completely kills it. I mean, pause this video, go check out Hotboii Don't Need Time remix featuring Lil Baby on YouTube or wherever you want to, and tell me that ain't Lil Baby's best verse. After dropping the debut mixtape, he has plans to release his debut album. He's calling it 00 Baby, which stands for 2000s baby because 00 2 zeros, which actually is dope because it plays on to him. And then his mixtape is called Cut the Fan On because he's a hot boy, so it works well in his titles. He chose the right titles for his projects. And the first supposed single off the 00 Baby album is called Left Lonely. It has a like Miami flair beat to it, and he actually does pretty well on it as well, so go ahead and check that out. And some of my favorite tracks from Hotboii aren't even on the mixtape. These are tracks he recorded very early on in his career. He has a track on his YouTube page called Rainy Days, and it's so dope. That sample that's used was used various times from other artists, but the way he used it was very dope, and it fits his flow and his voice, and you could tell even early on he knew what direction he wanted with his sound. I hope if he watches this video, please redo that track because the mix and mastering is there, but that's kind of what makes it a dope track because of how raw it sounds. But a better, like more updated version, Hotboii, if you're watching this, I would really appreciate it. That's one of my favorite tracks from you. So that's it for the first episode of Who Is. I loved covering Hotboii. He's one of my favorite new upcoming artists. Go ahead and check out those tracks I recommended. And he's got a great head on his shoulders, man. This guy's gonna go far as long as he takes his career serious and doesn't get involved in stupid things. So with that being said, let me know an artist you want me to cover. Of course, like I said earlier in the video, this artist can't be somebody who's brand new or your homie or somebody who hasn't really blown up at all. They need to have some sort of audience that you like, that you feel like is on the cusp of blowing up. So I have quite a few ideas on the next artist I want to do a video on, so let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think of me being in front of the camera as well. Do you guys like this setup? I was kind of messing around with the lighting, the angle, all that stuff. So let me know in the comments below if you like this as well. Also check out the merch. I got merch coming out soon, Boii Gang. I mean, my video editor made this and he's a beast. He has like a whole connect out in Canada. So yeah, let me show you the back. I don't know if I can see it, but yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Fuck, I don't even know. But yeah, the merch is coming soon too. So I'd appreciate support on that, you know, down the line once I get it released. So that's it for this episode. Leave a comment below, like, share, all that. Support me on patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $1 a month or more, you can help support this channel further. Thank you for watching and peace.
So give my fans what they want.
You don't ever get involved in the bullshit. Like you never on the blogs.
Never. Just dope lyrics.
Yeah.
No clout chasing, just dope lyrics.